Hello there everybody, WhatCulture Wrestling's Adam Clery here, and I'm just going to give you all the spoilers right now. NXT was flipping really good this week. But my, how they've grown. It seems only like 5 minutes ago I did the first episode of this when we were starting on TV and it was all dead exciting. And this is our first go-home show of NXT on the USA Network era. We will need a better name for the era as we go on, of course. And my God, what a go-home show it was, because, well, NXT have never really done this before. I know we have go-home shows when it was on the network, but we've never had go-home shows for a television audience. And as you will know from watching Raw and SmackDown, they're quite hard to do. And, well, it's going to get a bit of a mess later on, because simultaneously you have to build to brand warfare, brand supremacy at Survivor Series by getting Raw and SmackDown involved, but you've also got TakeOver War Games, and you need to get all the matches for that looking like they're going to make sense. So everyone has to fight themselves and then fight the other thing, and it's just, I don't know how you do it, but they did. Anyway, I'm saying that the most exciting thing this week, of course, is it's finally the time for me to get to my own introduction to this godforsaken show. So, without further ado, and since Simon Miller took his ball and went home with it, this is my own introduction for NXT Ups and Downs.
Sorry, you can't have it yet.
I can't have it yet?
Nope, you can have it when you win at Survivor Series.
When I win what at Survivor Series?
Has he not told you?
Has he not told me what?
You'll find out.
Yada yada, on Thursdays we wear yellow, etc, etc, etc. My God, this opening. I don't know why I love the idea so much that the door, literally the front door to NXT, is that close to the curtain where you go out to the ring, but this was brilliant. This, it gets an immediate up. What a way to start the show. They knew how excited we were for who was going to be appearing on this episode, and they did not wait until like 20 minutes in for a random run-in. Here you go. Here is Becky Lynch, literally greeted at the door by William Regal, who says, "Welcome back." Now, if I was worried about this whole thing not making any sense, given you've got two conflicting pay-per-views to promote for, one, of course, NXT against NXT, and one, of course, NXT against everybody else who has ever existed, Becky Lynch gave an absolute masterclass on how to make this coherent and how to make it make sense. In fact, this whole segment was a masterclass on how to make these things coherent and how to make them make sense. She went after Bayley, proving she has a reason she wants to fight Bayley. Then she went after Baszler, proving she has a reason she wants to fight Baszler. And with all that set, then we got Rhea Ripley for what was going to be a really good match that was apart from all of this. So it's built everything and given us something exciting in the process. I loved it, I loved it, I loved it. It's an up. And just to cycle back to all of that for a second, Becky Lynch does not care about brand supremacy. She cares about her next fight and her reasons for being in that match. And she wants to beat up Baszler. She wants to beat up Baszler. Doesn't matter to her about point scoring. And, well, I'll get to more on that in a little bit, but just remember this. Oh, and just quickly before I start talking about this match, I want to give another up straight away to the Full Sail crowd, because it must have been quite difficult to be a fan at this show, mustn't it? Because simultaneously, you're going to want to cheer and pop when these appearances appear, but then you've also got, like, the brand loyalty, and you want to boo them because they all have to play the heels when they come to NXT, and they did every single thing superbly. They popped for Lynch when she first appeared, but then booed her and chanted NXT and chanted for Rhea Ripley. It was just well done them. The match itself, and I will say, if you like watching these episodes of Ups and Downs, because I detail what happens in the matches themselves, I'm going to have to skim over a lot of that this week because I am very conscious of the time. No, I'm not even wearing a watch, and if I start telling you everything that happens in the matches, then we're going to be running like half an hour long. So just take it from me, the match was good. Becky had all the technical stuff, Ripley had all the powerful stuff, and then they even mixed and matched that up a little bit. There were some brutal spots, there was a great disarmer, counter here and there, and it was, well, it's a dream combination, something we never thought we'd see, and it was excellent. Now, just as it looked as if Becky was about to win clean, we got the typical interference spot from Jessamine Duke, Marina Shafir, and Shayna Baszler, and they kind of ruined the thing as a contest. It's kind of a bit confusing. I would normally give that a down, but the match itself was so hot, it was such a good start to the show, the match gets an up. And it kind of made me realise one thing NXT has done badly in all of this, and that is Rhea Ripley. She should have been able to absorb a loss from Becky Lynch in this match, but if she had, that would have been really bad. Like, she's not won a major match on television really since, like, what? That Bianca Belair match? Not really been much else after that. She got beat on SmackDown. She did a whole, oh, look at my friends thing the last week on NXT. It's just, they've not done too much for her in all of this, so I guess the interference spot was necessary. Then after that, the Revival arrive, and I absolutely love little segments like these because I know, for a fact, I know that if I live long enough and I'm in this job long enough, sooner or later I'll be pulling up this exact image telling you that you won't believe which one of these security guards is now a mid-card jobber on Raw. Because that's how they all start, isn't it? Good for them. Quick little hype package for Kaylee Ray, which is obviously a good thing because you've got to remember, for the majority of people watching on the USA Network, they have no idea who she is. So throwing her into the War Games match with no real explanation or backstory is a bit odd. So good, she gets a hype package. But if I was really trying to find her down, I'm not really trying to find her down, but if I was, I would say this isn't really enough because who is she? She's come out of nowhere. She's the NXT Women's Champion. I've never seen her wrestle before. I am the average American viewer. Need a little bit more than her just saying she's great while she flattens Candy Floss, who is also a wrestler. Next up, fair play to NXT here, and honestly, absolutely no disrespect to you, Mr. Reeves, but I was reaching for the first down of this episode because this regular match that looked like it was happening was about to kill all the momentum from the hot start Stone Dead because somehow the poor lad managed to come out to crickets. I was like, that's bad. They've done this in the wrong order. That should have been later on, but no! Ricochet arrives at warp speed and throws that man face first, feeds him the ring post so hard he will still be picking black paint out of his teeth come Christmas. Bang! It seems unfair, really, that I've got to grade the match after this, and the match is obviously going to get its own score, but I kind of want to give that an up just for how hard he hit him. No, it sets a bad precedent, doesn't it? I'll not do that. You can't get an up on this just because you hit somebody hard. Yet. Anyway, Matt Riddle comes out, and we are getting Matt Riddle versus Ricochet, and I sat there and I was like, wow, they're redoing my favourite TakeOver match. Before I realised it isn't my favourite TakeOver match because they've never done a TakeOver match. The two of them are just so good that my brain has put together a TakeOver match between these two that's never even happened, which annoyed me because I realised we'd been robbed of it. Anyway, a few absolutely amazing spots in this, as you might expect. You know, I normally say, I'm not going to describe this one, just go and watch it. That kind of applies to pretty much every single match on this show. There's a great bit. Ricochet goes for a standing shooting star press, which Riddle he catches him with his balls and puts him in a triangle. And I was just like, I love wrestling. There's a lot of big kicks, a lot of big suplexes, throws, flips, absolutely everything. It was a sensational, great match. And, right, I'm going to have to do this a lot in this episode because there's so many interference spots. We're just going to end, even though it doesn't end here, we're going to end the match there. The match ends with an up. I absolutely loved it. But then Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura appear for another segment. Now, yes, I know there's kind of an overlap here, which I'm not addressing, but just it doesn't really matter. Nakamura and Cesaro come out wearing their SmackDown colours, and they beat up both the Raw superstar and the NXT superstar, which I guess does make sense. Now, again, I was like, oh, God, another interference spot. Gonna give this down, but then Ricochet does a flying plancher out of the ring and out over the barrier in Cesaro, and it was just great hearing Nakamura get that ovation and then subsequently get booed when everybody remembered whose side he was on. It was just fun. There was so much about this, which was like technically bad writing and technically bad, but I liked it anyway. So this segment gets it up as well. Like, if you're sitting there thinking this sounds like a whole lot to keep up with, like, I've not even finished. That's not even the end of that segment. Finn Balor comes running out to attack Matt Riddle. It's kind of the first bit of serious action, the first blow he really takes since coming back to NXT, and Riddle's gonna say, I'm gonna get you at the weekend, buddy. And it's just so much going on in this. Like, I promise you now, I'm gonna miss something because I've watched it twice and I just keep forgetting. I forgot about Balor there for a second. It's just so much happens. Then we had this announcement. The winner of that triple threat match at War Games is going to get to face Adam Cole at Survivor Series, which is very interesting. Now, I'm not going to give this a grade because that is an up provided Pete Dunne wins. I don't know if anybody wants to see Killian Dane versus Adam Cole, and I think it's too soon for Damian Priest to be a credible challenger at a Big Four pay-per-view, but Dunne, he's got pedigree, he's got history, he's been the NXT UK champion for ages. Him versus Cole have a banger. I want to see that. Can he do like a suspended up in hiatus? No, I can't, apparently not. Just a little voice in my head's told me that. I can't do that, but yeah, if that happens, I'm giving it an up. Right, and coming up next, we have a stark reminder about why WWE's decision to be fundamentally uninterested in promoting tag team wrestling as a serious concept is the biggest hot fried slice of covered in gravy, then sprinkled in a nice box, served to you 10 p.m. with you in 30 minutes or less, or your money back bullshit. Undisputed Era versus The Revival. Again, just like Matt Riddle and Ricochet, this is a takeover match that we somehow did not manage to get just purely because they all came around at different times. And if you're out there You know, there's things whenever a footballer does something, it's like, oh, any kids watching this at home? Any kids who ever want to be in a tag team, watch this match, man. Like, it's just, they single out one of them for ages, then there's a great hot tag, and some of the spots, some of the counters, everything are just incredible. I think maybe one of my favourite in-ring moments of the year might be the reversal counters that they get in this match. I'm not going to tell you which way round it went, because I do want you to watch it. Please watch it. This match gets the yellow jacket, so you must watch it. Wait, I haven't put the up on it yet. Put the up on it, then the yellow jacket. There you go. It gets the yellow jacket and the up. You should watch this match, because it's just exposes WWE for being so dumb in their approach to this kind of match. Oh, and quick apology to both Aaliyah and Xia Li here, because I gave them a down last week because I thought, oh, you just hit her in the nose and you shouldn't really be doing that. Turns out that was a work. Apparently there was a news story during the week she's going to take some time off, and that was a work, and it worked me. So I do actually quite like getting worked, because it means I didn't see it coming, so that's good. But anyway, did the exact same thing in this. Bobby Fish's nose burst right open, and well, look, colour's not always bad, is it? It added a bit of tension, a bit of drama to this match. I didn't mind it too much. Anyway, though, like, these are two of the greatest tag teams in WWE right now. Two of the greatest tag teams in the world right now. Two of the greatest tag teams in the company probably ever. You can make that argument. They're probably in the top 10, maybe the top 15 of all time, and only one of them has made it to the main roster, and they've not even done a whole lot there while they've done it. You just despair, don't you? Because tag team matches are so good. We never get these anymore. Actually, I'm saying if you only watch one thing this week, make it this match. No, if you only watch one thing this week, make it this Poppy segment, hyping the Women's War Games match. Never really listened to Poppy until she was on the other week, but I love this song now. It's just so good. Up. Me, Simon, Adam gave Poppy an up. That's stupid. I wouldn't have given Poppy an up. Well, yeah. Do what I want, don't I? And speaking of Simon, by the way, said the door was open this week. Doing the John Travolta meme. Imagine being that big and scared of me. Imagine. Right, I'm going to have to start coming up with a thing that allows you to pick your own up and down for a particular segment when I can't decide. And Kaylee Ray versus Dakota Kai is that. Because I said at the start, they needed to do more with her than simply go, look, I'm amazing, here's me beating up another wrestler you've never heard of, and this is it. This is putting her in a good match with Dakota Kai. You can sell her as a vicious heel while you play her off against the most naturally likable, pure, white meat, great seller babyface in the entire, they said company there, probably not, in the entire brand. It's a good setup, it's a good pairing, and the match itself was good. She came off as vicious. It was maybe ran a little bit long, but it was fine. It gets an up, purely on principle, and it did its job. It got Kaylee Ray over, but it did kind of make you think, have they made the wrong decision with Kai here? Because I think maybe they have. Maybe she should have been in that match, because she was great again. Her last 3 matches in NXT have been absolutely class. So I want to give the match itself an up, because it was good and it did what it was supposed to do, but also it made me realise maybe they've made a bad call. So I give it an up, you want to give it a down, you do what you want. Now, don't normally like exposing the business by showing that I've got a script, even though I bang it around all the time, but I'm going to have to try my best to describe to you what happened following this match. Let's see if I can do it without looking at this, right? They're there. So after the bell went, obviously Kaylee Ray won. What you had was the... No, I've forgotten already. Carmella, Dana Brooke, Mandy Rose, and Sonya Deville all hit the ring dressed in their SmackDown attire, and they beat up the 2 women who were already in the ring. That's Dakota Kai and Kaylee Ray. And then Io Shirai and Bianca Belair came in to make the save for Kaylee Ray. And then a little bit after that, you got Candice LeRae, Mia Yim, and Tegan Nox. They hit the ring to try and save Dakota Kai. So you got this big brawl all happening. And then some people from Raw came in. Natalya was one of them. Kairi Sane was one of them. And there was another one who I'm completely forgetting. They all came in. Big brawl ensued. Sane hit an insane elbow on Nox, which was absolutely brilliant. Then we got this tiny little stare down between the Sky Pirates. Bear in mind, they've gone their own way now. They're both heels. It was a lovely little moment, but it was short-lived because... Look, right, this was a mess, and it wasn't even a mess in the same way that the men's thing later on was a mess, or the men's thing from earlier was a mess. This was just a complete mess. Everybody was hitting everybody. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense beyond, like, it's just, right, okay. What am I meant to take from this? What am I meant to take from the fact that Nikki Cross is one person standing tall at the end of this? Not SmackDown, just Nikki Cross. She's the one person that comes out with this. She comes down with a trash can lid and she batters everybody. What am I meant to take from that? She was, what, eating out of a bin out backstage when she heard there was a fight on? Like, what is this? I will imagine loads and loads and loads of people absolutely hated this. But not me. I liked it. I'm giving it enough. Like Nikki Cross's weird Scottish Oscar the Grouch thing, it just being a total mess. It's the go-home show for Survivor Series. It's the one night of television a year you can just hit everybody. It doesn't really matter. It was just fun and it was just nice moments and just sorry. I'm just in too good a mood these days, so it's an up. Some actual wrestling after this with the Viking Raiders and the Forgotten Sons, and I'm going to apologise to both teams right now because I am very conscious of both my time and our editor Chris's time, and I don't want this to run on too long, so I can't really detail too much of what happened in the match because trust me, there is a lot to talk about in the main event. But I will say, it was a down for me personally. Like, I like the Forgotten Sons. I've actually come around a lot on them in the last few weeks. I would like to see them in the tag team title picture next year, please. But they're not on at Survivor Series. They're not going to be on TakeOver. They did not need 14 minutes of this show to just look brave in defeat, inevitable defeat, to the Viking war raiding experience machine, did they? So there's a time it could have been spent, but down. All right, so deep breath. Your main event of the evening: NXT champion Adam Cole versus Dominic Dijakovic in a ladder match to see who gets the advantage for NXT War Games this weekend. Very simple. And the match itself, I'm just gonna say it right now, might well be WWE's greatest ever TV ladder match. We were having a chat out there before. There was the Jeff Hardy Undertaker one, was good. Jeff Hardy, Rob Van Dam was also good. There was another one which I've forgotten about right now, but this is up there, man. It is brutal and it is clever and it is just hard hitting and it makes your teeth itch, and there's a spot in this, right, where he goes to pull him off with Dijakovic, goes to pull Cole off the ladder, and he lands him in a Panama Sunrise, and he hits that. Now, the lad is like 7 foot tall. In the other space you've got in the ring once you've got a ladder set up, it's like that. This match was just so good. For the finish, and yes, I am already skipping to the finish because you should just watch this episode of television. I normally like to explain it all, but I'm not going to this week. You should just watch this entire episode because it's so much fun. The finish, he hits him with the knee, but it's the bad knee, so he collapses to the ground and he's staggering up. This is Dijakovic, by the way, climbing up the ladder so slowly. He's going to get it, but he gives Cole just enough time to recover. He scales up the ladder. He smashes him in the face, right in the moy, with the briefcase. He falls down through another ladder, not dissimilar to the spot me and Ian took last week, and Cole gets the briefcase. Victory for the Undisputed Era. Advantage bad guys at War Games. Up. And then again, after the match, how do I explain what happened without just reading from these many notes? Well, Undisputed Era, they come down because of course they do. They're celebrating with their glorious leader, but they are cut off by SmackDown. It's the Revival, it's Nakamura, it's Cesaro, and there's a bit of a standoff. But then while there's a standoff, Raw comes out behind them, and it's Street Profits, who apparently just hate NXT now, the Viking War Raiding Experience Machine, and Zack Ryder, of all people, and a big fist orgy. I said it, that's what breaks out, and everybody just kind of just knocks each other around. And then, for the biggest pop of the evening, I think it was the biggest pop of the evening, Drew Gallo McIntyre appears in the ring and just batters off Dijakovic. And genuinely, people were really absolutely off their nut to see Drew in this thing, because his time in NXT was very short, let's not forget. Came in, won the title, got a bit of an injury, and then was just out for ages, and then just went to the main roster. People were so stoked to see him, which I think tells you he has not been tainted by the main roster. His star remains intact. Anyway, he gets laid out by Keith Lee, who hits him for a spirit bomb, and I'm not joking, bounces him back up about the height of me. Then there's a great spot where Ivar gets in the ring and he's staring down Keith Lee, and they both just go, I'll tell you what, instead, let's do suicide dives onto 25 people, and that's just, what a glorious mess. And this is the thing I wanted to try and save a little bit of time to talk about after this, because Adam Cole gets back to his feet. He is the last man standing in the ring until Seth Rollins appears and super kicks him. And if you just watch, Chris, can we get this exact moment where he does this and he goes into the ropes like that? Hamflet pointed this out to me, right? Look at the weight coming off this man's shoulders. He's meant to be the top face in the company. He gets crickets. He's meant to be seen as cool and an inspiring figure. He's lame as anything on social media. The man is having a dreadful 2019. And you can see in everything he does how gotten to he is by it all. It's taking its toll on him. And just in this moment, to get an electric crowd reaction, to get some people losing their mind over seeing him, and some people remembering his part in the storyline and booing him fiercely rather than apathy, you can see that is Seth Rollins feeling like a pro wrestler again. Anyway, Ciampa comes out, we get a bit of a stare down, and it goes off the air to them two brawling. Now, if you remember the first episode of this way back when, I gave it down at the end of the broadcast because it was just a mess and I needed more clarity and they shouldn't have done this. But I'm giving this whole mess, the go-home shot, I'm giving it an up. I was really annoyed that I didn't get to see the match that it looked like this was teasing between Ciampa and Seth Rollins, but hell, it's gonna make me want to watch Survivor Series all the more. This is a classic go-home episode of wrestling television, building to not one but two wrestling pay-per-views, sprayed that everywhere, one but two pay-per-views this weekend. It's just, remember at the start when I said, this is great, but it doesn't feel like they're building to enough? They built to enough. So yeah, like, I'm sorry if I've skipped through loads of things and you think, oh, I didn't explain that enough, and I'm supposed to watch this so you don't have to, but honestly, my friends, this week, if you just put 2 hours aside and you sit down, nice big bubble bath, light some candles, tub of Haagen-Dazs, let it defrost for about 10 minutes beforehand, or just warm the spoon, dollop it on your own thigh, then throw the spoon away, you will not regret this decision. Also, put NXT on while you're doing it, that was my point. And just really quickly, Mauro Ranallo only had one corker for me this week. It was Ripley dropping Lynch like most of us drop our phones. Ranallo body talks like, I don't know. So there you have it, an absolute triumph of television in my opinion, although one I think might be a bit divisive, because if you don't like all the messy stuff, if you don't like there being all these bodies all over the place and not clear rivalries and it all just being about brand supremacy, even though they've never ever told us why these brands hate each other, like it's not like anybody gets better spots at the Rumble for winning these things. If you hate all that, you probably hated this episode, but I don't. I think this is the one night of the year you can get away with it, and this is the one night of the year I'm going to let them get away with it. Hence why this score is ridiculous, but there you go, that's my opinion. But as ever, I am more interested in yours, so let me know what you made of it all in the comments below. Of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hashtag on Thursdays, we wear yellow. I can't believe Simon Miller didn't have the guts to show up when I left the door.
Right, Clery, you think you're a big boy by jumping into my shows, well now I'm returning the favour by jumping into yours. But it's got to stop. Otherwise, you're going to piss me off, I'm going to piss you off. Everybody's going to get pissed off, so we'll settle it like WWE is going to settle it on Sunday. Nice and simple. We've got the main roster versus NXT. We've got NXT versus the main roster. So let's do this. Let's get a tally going throughout the Survivor Series, meaning when the main roster wins a match, I get a point. And when NXT wins a match, you get a point. And whoever has the lowest point total at the end of the evening has to dress up like a clown when they host, wait for it, Ups and Clowns next week here on WhatCulture Wrestling. I put out the challenge. It's daft, it's stupid like my face, but dare you accept that, Clery? You managed to come on my show. You dared to do that. Do you dare to dress up like a clown?